Did you know that the Roman Colosseum was built to distract the Romans from their corrupt government? The Roman Colosseum has inspired many arenas around the world from their designs and events that took place. Gladiators and animals performed at the Colosseum daily. Criminals, slaves, and prisoners of war were gladiators. There was also a group of people who gave up their freedom to become gladiators. There was a gladiator training school inside the Colosseum where men and women trained for their daily events. There were three types of gladiators. The bestiary gladiator specialized in hunting animals and beasts. The restiary gladiator carried a trident, net, and dagger. And the demartiary gladiator carried two swords, one in each hand. Animals were also hunted in the Colosseum. Animals such as zebras, hyenas, and ostriches were placed in the Colosseum to be hunted and killed. Fake dirt and fake trees were placed inside the arena to create a forest-like setting. Over 5,000 animals were killed in each event, and 700,000 gladiators died in the Colosseum's history. Gladiators came out in a parade and addressed their emperors of their time. The loser of the battle, either gladiator or animal, the fate would be chosen by the audience members. The decline of the Roman Colosseum happened when Christianity came to rise. In 1531, an earthquake struck Rome and the south side of the Colosseum collapsed. Only 1/3 of the Colosseum remained. After that, the Colosseum was abandoned for 12 centuries and used as a slum tenement. Pieces and parts of the Colosseum were used in places around the city of Rome. Places such as houses, buildings, churches, and palaces had materials from the Colosseum. The evidence that the Colosseum is still in our culture is seen in many places. Modern advances that the spectators at the Colosseum got to experience were ticketing systems, numbered seatings, and bleachers. There is also a netting system around the arena, that protected the spectators from the gladiators and animals. Gladiators were glorified like modern-day athletes. Some modern architectural features that were featured in the Colosseum were large water fountains and staircases. A restoration of the Colosseum took place in the year 2000, and after that it was named one of the 7 wonders of the world. It is now one of the most popular tourist attractions. Pope Benedict came to the Colosseum and blessed it with the Stations of the Cross. The Stations of the Cross are still practiced at the Roman Colosseum today. In conclusion, the Roman Colosseum shows many modern advances in the way that it was created. Without the Roman Colosseum, we would be without a great example of a modern entertainment complex.
Did you know that ancient Greeks used a conch shell as a trumpet? Music was a very important part of ancient Greek culture. They invented many different instruments. Some wind instruments that they invented was the iulos, which was a double reed instrument like an oboe. They also invented the syrinx, which was like a flute that shepherds used to herd their sheep. Some string instruments that they invented was the lyre, which was an ancestor of the guitar, and a pandora, which was an ancestor of the lute. Finally, some percussion instruments that they invented was the sestrion, which was used to accompany theatrical performances, and the crotolone, which was like modern-day castanet made of wood. The Greeks believed that music was given to them by the gods and incorporated it into every aspect of their lives. They believed that music reflected the soul and had the power to heal both body and mind. Choral music was used to underscore Greek dramas, and they used music in a lot of festivals and social events like weddings and banquets. The Greeks built the Odeon in Athens, which was the first roof concert hall to highlight the importance of music. Because of its relationship to mathematics, music was taught to students in schools and was at a lot of social activities and sporting events. There were many talented musical performers that became famous in ancient Greek times. The first was Terpander, who finished the octave and added the 6th and 7th string to the kithara. Then there was Boethius, who applied the first 15 letters of the alphabet to music and wrote 5 textbooks on that subject. Next there was Anacreon, who mostly wrote about the joys of music, the joys of love and wine. Sappho was a woman, and she was considered the greatest lyrical poet of her time. and her work influenced many later musical performers and poets. And finally, there was the great dramatist Euripides, who composed many musical interludes for his plays. There is not much left physically of ancient Greek music, but its influence lives on. There are 45 odes remaining, along with Homeric epics and dramatic tragedies that were preserved through music. Only one full score remains, and fragments of scores which were left in stone. Depictions of how instruments were played are shown in artwork and monuments, but few actual instruments are still remaining. Only flutes and fragments of lyres. The Delphic hymn and the Caecilian pillar were two very important findings that show us how ancient Greek music was used. In conclusion, ancient Greek music is very alive today. Their simple instruments have inspired us to make more elaborate ones, and their compositions have given us ideas for music today.
Do you know that sculptures and paintings were very famous back then? Greek art and Roman art were very different, but at the same time they used similar ideas and techniques. The Romans portrayed a more of a realistic form of decoration, and the Greeks portrayed more of an artistic form. The Romans and the Greeks did statues that were made out of gold, silver, ivory, marble, and bronze. The bronze statues were very famous and very fashionable because they were easy to carry and didn't break. They liked doing statues because you could see them through a variety of angles. Every temple had its own statue of its god, and every temple had paintings of its god. The sculptor wanted to capture a moment of stillness instead of a dramatic pose because it was harder for them. But overall, sculptures and paintings were very different because paintings showed emotions. In the Roman imperial period, the Romans did portrait painting, which was represented as a series of wooden panels. In Pompeii, they did mural painting, which was Greek interior art. In Rome, they also did wall painting, which they did different styles for. Like the first style was to imitate this marble. The second style was to do shadows and edges. The third and fourth style were to do dimensions. Street artists became so common that people could get their own portraits painted for a few cents. In Pompeii, they did landscape scenes, so they were depicted on the walls of Roman houses. The artist or the painter wanted sufficient light for proper viewing. The greatest master of Greek sculpture was Phidias. He did the statue of Athena of gold and ivory. He also did a statue for Zeus for the Olympian temple. Three other greatest sculptors were Praxiteles, who did a statue for Aphrodite. Another one was Lysippus, who was Alexander the Great's favorite sculptor. His system was to reduce the head size 1/8 of the entire sculpture. He also did sculptures in a more of a naturalistic way of the torso and the limbs. Another one was Polyclitus, who did 1,500 sculptures, and they were big and bronze sculptures. He also did muscular frames, which was, he did his faces with like a square face, a straight nose, and a small chin. Polygonotus was a Greek painter who was the first one to show expression in his paintings, and the most admired piece of art was the Laocoon group, which was a father and his two sons being squeezed to death by two serpents. In conclusion, the Greek art and Roman art are still alive today because today in New York City we have the Statue of Liberty.
Did you know that the Roman Colosseum was built to distract the Romans from their corrupt government?
Oh my god, stop it. An oboe, and then there was this race, like a...
Kill me, I can't.
45, what? Shush, okay. 45 odes remain.
Greek art and Roman art were I can't do this. Sculptures and paintings were very what are you